Welcome to Game Fondue Reviews. In this video we're going to take a look at Quoridor. Quoridor is a simple, fast, abstract game with very simple rules. Let's jump right in with the description of the rules, see if the example turn is being played, then I'll be back for some closing remarks.
This is Quoridor, set up for a 2-player game as is typically played, though there is a 4-player variant which we'll talk about briefly later in the video. To set up, you just place each player's pawn in the center space of his baseline and put all of his fences in the designated storage spaces like so. Aside from that, you just choose a start player and players take turns either moving their pawn or placing a fence. The first player to reach the other player's baseline is the winner. So if you choose to move your pawn, you can move one space either horizontally or vertically in either direction. You can certainly move backwards or forwards anywhere you'd like to, but you cannot move through a fence. So if there was a fence here, for instance, you'd have to move to the side of it before you could advance further. If another pawn is in front of you, like so, let's pretend it's the red player's turn, he decides to move, you can jump over that pawn as your move for the turn. If this same situation occurs where there's a fence behind this guy, you can essentially jump over him to the left or to the right. As an alternative to moving, you can just place a fence, and to do that you just place a fence along these squares like so that it will always be next to 2 squares. You can't place a fence hanging off the board or anything like that, but the one rule of placing fences is there always must be a space left for that person to finish. So you can't totally block out a player so that there's no way for them to finish. Like in this situation, a fence could not be placed here because no player would be able to finish the game from that point. The game ends immediately when a player reaches any space along the baseline of the opposing player, and in that case, the player who reached the other side is the winner. And that's all there is to the 2-player game or the standard game. Real quick, we'll go over the 4-player version, in which case you just have 2 more pawns on the opposite sides of the board, and the objective is to get to the opposite side. So this guy can't just finish over here or anything like that. The only thing to note here is if there's ever 2 pawns in a row, you cannot jump them as one action. You also cannot, multi-jump or anything like that. But otherwise, it plays exactly the same, except each player will only have 5 fences instead of 10. Let's get going with this example playthrough. It's going to be this player's turn first, and he decides to move. So remember, he can just move one space, not diagonally. He's just going to move there. And this guy's going to move, and this guy's going to move one more time. Now, instead of moving, this player decides that he'd like to place a fence. He's going to place a fence right here, and that's his turn. He doesn't get to move. Now it's back to this guy, and he has to decide what he's going to do. He's going to take one more space forward, and this guy's turn, he's going to place another fence like this. Now this guy has some choices to make about how he's going to move. We're going to jump ahead a little bit later in the game so you can see some more interesting situations. Welcome back. It's getting near the end of the game. It's the purple player's turn. He's going to place a fence right here. Now it might look like you can't do that because it's blocking this guy, but he still has a way to finish up here. So it's this guy's turn. He's going to take a step here. The purple guy is totally out of fences, so he has to move. So he's going to move there. Instead of moving here, this guy is going to place a fence like so, and then the purple guy goes here, and then he will jump him, as we discussed. He can jump them because they're facing each other, and they're going to continue moving for a little bit towards their intended destinations. Now it's the purple player's turn, but unfortunately he knows he's doomed because if he goes this way around this, he's going to get blocked here, and if he goes the other way, he'll get blocked here. So he just decides to walk down as this guy comes in, and then of course, as he expected, he gets blocked, and it looks like the yellow player is the first to reach the other player's side, so the yellow player is the winner.
Quoridor is incredibly easy to teach and play. You're essentially just moving or placing a fence. What could be easier? But it is very deep. Essentially, the better player is going to win, but the game plays so fast that it's still fun even if you're new to the game or a first-time player or somebody that's just completely outmatched. Because a long game probably takes 15 minutes, and more realistically, even the first time you play, it's 10 minutes. There's not really a lot to grasp in terms of mechanics of the game, but there is a great deal of strategy and kind of understanding how to maneuver those fences to make the other person go as far as possible, or to give them some choices where they need to put some fences out themselves, or they're going to end up having to go a very long way. It's a very fun game. I've played people that was the first time playing and they didn't do very well, who played 4 or 5 times in a row just because it's so quick, so easy to understand. And they really enjoyed it despite not winning any of the games. It's a lot of fun, so it's one I strongly recommend to people that enjoy abstract games or just need like a quick game that they can play quickly in bed before the day's over or something along those lines. Also, it's available in Board Game Arena, which I always recommend because I really enjoy that site. It does a great job of online implementations of games. So if it looked neat to you, check it out. That's Quoridor.